In 1968, someone bought a professional basketball team with a $500 raffle ticket. Not the franchise itself, the naming rights. The Phoenix Suns didn't exist yet, but someone had already decided the fans would pick the name. 28,000 people submitted suggestions. The winner, a woman named Celinda King, almost named them the Scorpions. She submitted both Suns and Scorpions, and when they called to tell her she'd won, she had no idea which one they'd picked. The franchise didn't even have an owner yet. In February 1968, the NBA announced Phoenix and Milwaukee would get expansion teams for the 1968-69 season. The expansion fee was $2 million, payable in 2 weeks. Phoenix didn't have an ownership group ready. A local attorney named Richard Block had been lobbying the NBA for months, but he didn't have $2 million. He had 2 weeks to find investors, form a syndicate, and convince the NBA that Phoenix, a city with no major professional sports team, could support basketball. Block called everyone he knew. The first investor was Carl Eller, a billboard advertising executive who'd never attended an NBA game. The second was Donald Pitt, a real estate developer who thought the franchise would lose money for a decade. By the deadline, Block had assembled a group of 23 investors, most of whom had put in less than $100,000 each. They showed up at the NBA offices in New York with the expansion fee in cash, carried in a paper grocery bag. That part isn't a myth. Multiple investors confirmed it in interviews decades later. The Suns had an owner, a name, and a spot in the league. They didn't have a coach, a roster, or an arena that could hold more than 7,000 people. Phoenix's only indoor venue was the Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum, a concrete bunker built for rodeos. The floor was dirt. Workers had to install a temporary hardwood court over the rodeo surface before every game, then remove it after. The Coliseum seated 14,000, but the Suns sold fewer than 5,000 season tickets before opening night. The franchise hired Jerry Colangelo, a 28-year-old scout from the Chicago Bulls, as general manager. He'd never been a general manager before. Colangelo hired Johnny Kerr, who'd been an assistant coach with the Bulls, to coach the Suns. Then they went to the expansion draft. The rules were brutal. Existing teams could protect 7 players, leaving Phoenix and Milwaukee to pick from the league's leftovers. Phoenix's first pick was Dick Van Arsdale, a solid guard from the New York Knicks who'd averaged 16 points the year before. Van Arsdale became the franchise's first star, the first Sun to have his number retired, and the reason Phoenix won 16 games in their first season instead of 9. 16 wins was an expansion team record. The previous record was 15, set by the Chicago Bulls 3 years earlier. Jerry Colangelo had been the Bulls' scout when they set that record. The Suns lost 56 games that first season, but they weren't embarrassing. They beat the defending champion Boston Celtics twice. One of those wins came in Phoenix, the other in Boston Garden, where expansion teams almost never won. By year 2, the Suns had added Connie Hawkins. Hawkins had been banned from the NBA in the early 60s after being implicated, but never charged, in a college point-shaving scandal. He'd spent years playing in the ABA, filing lawsuits, and waiting for the NBA to let him back in. The Suns signed him the day his ban was lifted. Hawkins averaged 24 points and 11 rebounds in his first NBA season, finished third in MVP voting, and made the Suns competitive 2 years ahead of schedule. Phoenix went from 16 wins to 39 wins in one season, the biggest single-season turnaround in NBA history at the time. By 1970, the Suns made the playoffs. They upset the Seattle Supersonics in the first round, then took the Lakers, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, to 7 games in the Western Conference semifinals. They lost Game 7 by 3 points. The franchise that almost didn't exist had gone from expansion afterthought to title contender in 2 years. Jerry Colangelo stayed with the Suns for 36 years, eventually becoming majority owner. The 23 investors who pooled their money in 1968 sold the team in 2004 for $400 million. Celinda King, who won the naming contest with her $500 raffle ticket, received season tickets for life and a cash prize she later said she couldn't remember the amount of. She attended Suns games into her 80s. The Phoenix Suns exist because someone paid cash in a paper bag, hired a 28-year-old who'd never run a team, and let the fans name the franchise before anyone knew if it would survive the season. Next time, we're heading north to find out how a team named after an animal that doesn't live anywhere near its city became one of the most valuable franchises in hockey.